Welcome to another deep dive. Today we're going to try and get you up to speed on the fundamentals of Python
Yeah.
using some practice multiple choice questions. So if
Right.
you're brand new to programming or if you just need like a quick refresher on the basics, this is going to be the perfect deep dive for you.
That's right.
It's like learning the secret language of computers.
You know, a lot of people think that programming is all about just memorizing syntax and all
Yeah.
these arcane rules.
Right.
But really, the real core of it is problem solving. And these multiple choice questions are going to be a great way to flex those problem solving muscles. If we can understand the logic behind these questions,
Yeah.
then we're well on our way to thinking like programmers.
All right, so let's dive right in.
Let's do it.
The first question asks, what is a program? And it defines it as a set of instructions.
Okay.
But what does that actually mean, like in the real world?
Well, think of it like a recipe.
Okay.
Each line of code is an instruction that's telling the computer exactly what to do and in what order.
Okay.
Just like a chef follows a recipe to create a delicious dish,
Yeah.
a computer is going to follow a program to perform a specific task.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And then question number 2 reminds us that computation isn't just about math.
Right.
We're also talking about like processing symbols, like text and even visuals.
Exactly.
It's broader than just numbers.
Programming allows us to manipulate all sorts of data, not just numbers.
Yeah.
And then question number 3, I think, is where things start to get really interesting.
Okay.
It emphasizes that problem solving is the core skill.
Right.
Not just knowing a particular programming language.
So it's more about the approach or the thought process than the specific tools.
Absolutely. Any programming language is just a tool
Yeah.
to express your solution.
Okay.
So the ability to break down a problem
Right.
and design a logical sequence of steps,
Right.
that's what really matters.
Okay, so where does Python fit into all of this?
Right.
Questions 4 and 5 touch on machine language,
Mm-hmm.
which is that binary code
Yes.
that computers can actually understand.
Right.
It's like this secret code.
It is. It's like trying to decipher zeros and ones.
Right, exactly.
And that's why we have high-level languages like Python.
Yeah.
Python lets us write code that's closer to human language.
Okay.
So it's much more readable and easier to learn than trying to wrangle with all those zeros and ones.
So Python's like a translator almost
Yes.
between like what we understand and then what the computer understands.
Precisely. It bridges the gap between us and the computer.
Okay.
And questions 5 and 6 highlight this by defining Python as a high-level language.
Gotcha.
It's designed to be user-friendly.
Okay, but how does the computer actually understand and execute the Python code that we write?
Right.
Questions 7 and 8 talk about the role of an interpreter.
Okay.
This is where things get kind of meta, I guess.
Yeah, the interpreter's key here.
Yeah.
It reads our Python code line by line
Okay.
and translates it into instructions that the computer's hardware can actually execute.
So it's almost like a live interpreter at like a conference or something.
That's a great analogy. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's translating in real time.
Right.
And that's one of the things that makes Python so popular, especially for beginners.
Yeah.
You can write a line of code, run it immediately,
Okay.
and see the result.
So that feedback loop is really tight.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
And this is different from a compiled language where you have to translate the entire program into machine code before you can run it.
Okay.
Both approaches have their pros and cons.
Gotcha.
But Python's interpreted nature
Yep.
definitely contributes to its ease of use.
Okay, so we've got our high-level language.
Yeah.
We've got our interpreter.
Yep.
What are the actual building blocks, then, of a Python program?
Okay.
Question 11 dives into the rules for creating variable names,
Right.
which are these labels that we use to store data.
Variables are essential because they let us store and manipulate information within our program.
Okay.
Think of them like containers with specific names.
Yeah.
We can put different types of data into these containers.
Okay.
Question 12, for instance, shows us how to define strings,
Right.
which are basically sequences of characters used to represent text.
So if I wanted to store, like, my name in a program, that
Yes.
would be a string.
You got it. And Python is very strict about how we name these variables.
Okay.
There are certain rules that we have to follow.
Right.
Like we can't use reserved keywords that already have special meaning in Python, like
Right.
the word import.
Right.
So it's like naming conventions in any language.
Gotcha.
We need to follow the rules
Yeah.
so that everyone understands what we're talking about.
Makes sense. But speaking of different types of data, okay, questions 13 and 15 introduce this concept of data types.
Right.
Like, what is a data type?
Data types are crucial because they tell the computer how to interpret and manipulate
Uh-oh.
the information that's stored in a variable.
Okay.
We have integers for whole numbers, floats for numbers with decimal points, and booleans for representing truth values, true or false.
So it's not enough to just store a value. We also need to tell the computer what kind of value it is.
Precisely. And this is crucial for performing operations correctly.
Gotcha.
You know, if we want to add two numbers together, the computer needs to know if it's dealing with integers or floats to make sure that the calculations are accurate.
And luckily, we have this type function that's mentioned in question 14, which allows us to check what the data type is.
Yeah, the type function is a handy tool to verify that our variables are storing the data that we expect them to.
Okay, so we've covered variables, data types, the importance of following these naming conventions. How do we actually manipulate this data? And make our program do something interesting.
That's where operators come in. Operators allow us to perform calculations, comparisons, and other operations on our data.
Gotcha.
Questions 16, 17, 41, 42, 43, 48, and 50.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, they introduce a variety of arithmetic operators. Like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and even exponentiation.
So Python has a wide range of tools just for working with numbers.
Yes, it does.
Okay, but what about situations where we need to go beyond basic arithmetic?
Well, Python has us covered there, too. Questions 17, 19, 43, and 44 introduce the concept of integer division, which is denoted by 2 forward slashes, and the modulus operator, which is represented by the % sign.
I'm guessing integer division gives us like the whole number result of a division.
You got it. And the modulus operator gives us the remainder after a division. These are surprisingly useful for tasks like determining if a number is even or odd, or for cycling through a set of values.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
It's amazing how these seemingly simple operations can have such a wide range of applications.
It is. It is.
Python's all about being concise and efficient, though, right?
Right.
Question 45 mentions this plus equals operator as like a shortcut.
Absolutely. Python provides a number of these shorthand operators for common tasks. The plus equals operator, for example, lets us add a value to a variable and update it in a single step. It's like saying, take this variable, add this value to it, and store the result back in the same variable.
So it saves us from writing a lot of extra code.
It does.
Yeah, so we've got ways to store data, manipulate it. But how do we actually get information in and out of our programs? I see questions 18 and 20 talking about the input and print function.
Yes. These are essential for creating interactive programs. The input function allows us to prompt the user for information.
Gotcha.
Which the program can then process. And the print function acts like our program's voice, allowing it to display output to the user.
So it's like a two-way communication channel.
Exactly. It's all about establishing that communication.
So input is like our program's ears.
And
then print is like its mouth.
Exactly.
That's a good way to think about it.
I like that.
Question 52 even shows us how we can fine-tune the print function. By using this end parameter to control line breaks. So we can make the output look however we want it to look.
Exactly. It's all about presenting information in a clear and readable way.
So we've got ways to store data, manipulate it, communicate with the user. But what about making our code understandable to other humans? Or even to ourselves when we revisit it like a month later? That's where comments come in.
Yes, comments are like annotations within our code that are ignored by the interpreter. But they provide valuable explanations for anyone who's reading the code.
So it's like leaving notes for ourselves.
Exactly.
Or for others who might need to understand how it works.
Yes. Good programmers always document their code with clear and concise comments.
Gotcha.
It makes the code much easier to maintain, debug, and collaborate on.
So it's a good habit to get into early on.
It is.
So this is all starting to come together. We've laid this solid foundation. With variables, data types, operators, input, output, and comments.
We've got the building blocks.
But I have a feeling this is just the beginning of our Python journey.
You're absolutely right. We've learned the basic building blocks. But the real power of programming lies in its ability to make decisions and to execute code based on specific conditions. That's where we're going to head next.
Gotcha.
We're going to explore the world of conditional execution in Python.
All right, I'm excited.
Me too.
So far, we've talked about Python as a way to give instructions to the computer.
But
what about giving it the ability to make choices? That seems like a whole other level of complexity.
It is, and it's what truly unlocks the power of programming.
Okay.
Think about it in everyday life.
Yeah.
We make decisions constantly based on certain conditions.
Right.
If the traffic light is red, we stop. If it's green, we go.
Right.
Conditional execution in programming is all about giving our programs that same ability to react differently based on the information they encounter.
Okay, so how do we teach Python to make these judgment calls?
Well, the key is the if statement. Questions 9, 22, and 23 give us the basics. Imagine you want your program to greet the user only if they enter a specific password.
Right.
You'd use an if statement to check if the entered password matches the correct one.
Gotcha.
If it does, the program executes the greeting.
Okay.
Otherwise, it skips it.
So the if statement is like a gatekeeper almost?
Exactly.
So it's only letting the code through if that condition is met.
It's like setting up a rule.
Okay.
If this is true, then do that.
Right, but what if the condition isn't true?
Okay.
Like what if the password is wrong?
That's where the else statement comes in, as we see in questions 25 and 26.
So the else statement provides an alternative path for the program to take.
Yeah.
If that initial condition fails.
Exactly.
It's like saying if this isn't true, then do something else.
Precisely. It allows our program to handle different scenarios, ensuring that there's always a clear path to follow.
But what if we have more than just two possibilities?
Okay.
What if we want to check multiple conditions in a row?
Right. That's where the else statement comes in short for else if.
Gotcha.
Questions 24, 32, and 33 illustrate how it works.
Okay.
Imagine you're building a game, and you need to assign different actions based on the player's score.
Okay.
You might use an if statement to check if the score is above a certain threshold for a win.
Right.
Then use a series of elif statements to check for different levels of achievement.
Okay.
And finally, an else statement for a loss.
So the elif statement lets us chain together multiple conditions.
Exactly.
Giving our program even more flexibility in how it makes decisions.
It allows us to build complex logic flows within our programs.
Okay.
Handling a variety of scenarios with precision.
But sometimes we need to make decisions within decision.
Right.
To check conditions only if certain prerequisites are met.
Yes.
That's where nested if statements come into play.
Exactly.
As described in questions 27 and 35. Nested if statements.
Yeah.
It sounds kind of like those Russian nesting dolls.
And I know, right? Layers within layers.
Yeah, can you give us like a real-world example?
Sure. Imagine you're writing a program to determine loan eligibility.
Okay.
You might first have an if statement to check if the applicant's income is above a certain threshold.
Okay.
Then, within that if block, you could have another if statement to check their credit score.
Gotcha.
Only if both conditions are met, sufficient income and good credit, would they be eligible for the loan.
So we're basically creating these decision trees within our code.
It allows us to model complex, real-world scenarios where one condition depends on another.
And to make these decisions even more sophisticated, we can use Boolean logic to combine multiple conditions.
Right.
Wait, Boolean logic, doesn't that have something to do with those true and false values?
It does. Boolean logic is all about combining simple conditions, using operators like and not to create more complex expressions.
So instead of just checking if one condition is true, we can check if multiple conditions are true at the same time, or if at least one of them is true, or even if a condition is specifically false.
Precisely.
Okay.
Question 29, for example, shows us how to use the AND operator to check if two conditions are both true.
Okay.
It's like saying this must be true, and that must also be true for the overall statement to be true.
And what about the NOT operator?
Okay.
I see that mentioned in questions 30 and 40.
The not operator, as the name suggests, negates a condition.
Okay.
So not true becomes false.
Right.
Not false becomes true.
Gotcha.
It's useful when you want to execute code only if a certain condition is not met.
Okay, so Boolean logic gives us a way to create these very intricate rules.
It does.
For how our program should make decisions.
Yeah.
It's starting to feel like we're teaching Python to think critically.
In a way, we are. By combining conditional statements and Boolean logic, we can build programs that are incredibly adaptable and responsive to a wide range of situations.
Gotcha.
They can analyze information, make choices, and execute different actions based on those choices.
Right, just like we do.
Just like we do in everyday life.
This is really fascinating.
I know, it's cool stuff.
It's amazing how these seemingly simple concepts,
Yeah.
if statements, else blocks, Boolean operators,
Right.
can create such powerful and dynamic programs.
It really highlights the creative potential of programming.
It does, yeah.
These conditional structures are the foundation for building intelligent programs that can solve problems, make decisions, and interact with the world in meaningful ways.
It's really cool.
And the best part is we're just scratching the surface of what's possible with Python.
Wow, I'm already feeling inspired.
Me too.
But for now, I think we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive into conditional execution and Boolean logic.
We have.
Let's take a moment to recap the key takeaways.
Okay.
And then see how all these concepts kind of tie together to form the bigger picture of programming in Python. All right, so let's take a step back and see what we've learned about Python.
Okay.
We started with the most basic question, what is a program?
And we saw that a program is essentially a set of instructions for the computer, like a detailed recipe that guides it step by step.
Yeah.
But we also realized that programming is about so much more than just giving orders.
Right. It's about understanding different types of data, like text and numbers, and using variables to store and manipulate that data within our programs.
Exactly.
And of course, there's this whole world of operators for
Right.
performing calculations and comparisons.
And we even touched on the difference between interpreted and compiled languages, highlighting how Python's interpreter makes it incredibly user-friendly, especially for beginners.
And speaking of user-friendliness, we can't forget about good coding practices.
Yeah.
Like using comments to explain our code.
Exactly.
Not only for others, but for our future selves.
Absolutely.
It's so easy to forget what we were thinking.
I know, right?
When we wrote something a week ago or even a day ago.
Clear and well-commented code is a sign of a thoughtful programmer.
Yeah, for sure.
But the real game changer, I think the thing that elevates programming from just a set of instructions to a tool for problem solving is conditional execution.
The if, elif, and else statements.
Yes.
They give our programs the power to make decisions based on the information they encounter, just like we do in our daily life.
It's like teaching our programs to think critically, to evaluate conditions, and choose the most appropriate course of action.
And by nesting those conditional statements, we can model incredible complex scenarios.
And then there's Boolean logic with its and or and not operators, allowing us to combine conditions and create even more nuanced rules for decision-making.
So what does all this mean for our listener who might be thinking, this is all very interesting, but I'm not sure how it applies to me?
Well, even if you're not applying to become a software engineer, understanding the basic principles of programming, especially in a versatile language like Python, can be incredibly beneficial.
Because it's not just about writing code. It's about developing the way of thinking.
Exactly. Programming encourages logical thinking, problem-solving skills, and the ability to break down complex tasks into smaller, more manageable steps. These are skills that are valuable in any field, from science and engineering to business and the arts.
It's like learning a new language.
It is.
It opens up new ways of thinking and approaching challenges.
You might even discover a hidden talent or passion for coding that you never knew you had.
So what's next? Like, where could somebody go from here?
Well, you could explore the vast world of Python libraries and frameworks, which allow you to do everything from analyzing data and building websites to creating artificial intelligence and machine learning models.
So the possibilities really are endless.
They are.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, we hope this deep dive has given you a solid foundation in the fundamentals of Python.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We have some basic syntax and data types to the powerful concepts of conditional execution and Boolean logic.
And we encourage you to continue exploring, experimenting, and building upon this foundation.
For sure.
Remember, every expert programmer was once a beginner.
That's right.
The journey of learning to code is as rewarding as the destination.
So keep that curiosity burning. Embrace the challenge, and who knows what amazing things you'll create.
That's right.
Until next time, keep on learning, keep on coding, and we'll catch you on another deep dive into the world of knowledge.